Nebraska basketball is on a disastrous 5-game skid. Today we're looking at some of the things they changed, some of the things they're struggling with, and I'm going to propose a new lineup for Fred Hoiberg because drastic changes are needed in Lincoln. Hello, Husker Nation, and welcome in to another edition of the Cornhusker Huddle. As always, I am your host. I'm Brian Moore. Today we're diving into Nebraska basketball's 5-game losing streak, and we're going to see what things Fred Hoiberg needs to change. So during this 5-game losing streak, Nebraska's losing by an average of 9.4 points per game. So they're relatively competitive outside of the Purdue game. They're shooting the ball relatively well at 47%, but they're allowing 50% from the field. The things I've seen especially that just drive me nuts on a consistent basis is the offense has no rhythm. They don't have a legit scorer other than Bryce, and there's been a handful of times during the skid where it takes Bryce some time to get into rhythm. The Purdue game, he never got in rhythm. He had 9 points. He struggled versus USC until late. Nebraska needs to find a legitimate option. Juwan Gary saved them last game against USC, even though they lost, by going off for 27 points. Juwan Gary has upped his level of play. The problem with Juwan is he wants to be a three-point shooter. And he was, a couple weeks ago, 34% from the season, which isn't good. It's the team average. But during the 5-game skid, Juwan Gary has had a lot of issues. We're going to dive in to the 5 or 4 players during this 5-game skid that I've had my eye on. We're going to look at their averages, their shooting, points, stuff like that. But the big problem for me is the offense. Has no rhythm, like we said. They lack a true point guard and a true big man that can help facilitate the offense. Remember Rank Mass from last season, how well he passed out of the post. Remember Derek Walker from years past. Even though those teams weren't very good, Derek Walker did a great job facilitating the offense out of the post. Nebraska's point guards have a 2-to-1 turnover ratio, which isn't terrible. The problem is they're only averaging 2 assists per game. That's not good. That's terrible. Your point guards have to facilitate. They have to run the offense. Too many times we've seen, especially that last game, even though they scored 72, 73 points or so, they're scoring relatively good. They're not scoring because of a great running offense. They're scoring because Bryce Williams goes off for 20 points and Juwan Gary goes off for 27 points or Connor Essegian goes off for 15 points. But it's not a great offense. It's just good shooting from Connor Essegian, or it's Juwan Gary getting to the rack or Bryce Williams getting to the rack. But the offense itself, to me, lacks rhythm. They do run assigned plays for Connor. That's what you do when you have a guy like Connor that can shoot from anywhere. That's what they did with Keisei Tominaga. The problem for me is when those plays break down, the offense seems lost. It's get the ball to Bryce and let him try and score. There is no guy on the team that's just going to go hunt for a basket on a consistent basis. Even Bryce consistently has not been consistent with hunting for baskets. Sometimes when he's struggling, he just relies on shooting the 3. When you're struggling, you should be taking it to the rack, especially Bryce, because he is so good at taking it to the rack. But it just seems like they run a handful of plays each game for Connor or Bryce, and then when the play breaks down, it's just 1 versus 1. It's Bryce versus whoever's defending him. The other guys kind of stand around. They set lazy screens. They don't really move without the ball well at all. So it's really frustrating for me as a basketball fan to see an offense, especially Fred Hoiberg, who we know has been routinely or consistently like an offensive guru. At least that's what we thought when he was at Iowa State, right? He had these great offenses. He certainly has changed his plan since coming to Nebraska of having an elite offense. And now they're trying to have an elite defense. This year, they're starting to fall off a cliff. Speaking of defense, we know Nebraska has struggled mightily against defending the 3. Well, against USC, they did finally make some changes that we'd been asking for. They doubled the post way less than they normally do. that help D was not as excessive as it usually is. And when you're not doubling the post and your help D isn't overly helping all the time, that backside is not as open. Those skip passes are not always open. They did a better job closing out on the three. I saw less of the flyby 3-point defense than I ever have. They did a better job-ish of boxing out. They still gave up a handful of second chance points and offensive rebounds to a really bad rebounding team. But rebounding, a lot of it is effort. Yeah, they boxed out pretty well, but there was a handful of plays where USC had a guy versus Nebraska's 3 that won the rebound. It's an effort thing at that point. But they did better. They lost the rebounding battle, I think, by like 1 or 2 rebounds. So it wasn't like the difference in the game. No matter, like, people are like, oh, they had like 12 second chance points. Well, Nebraska averages like 13 a game. So they basically broke even. Some of the other changes they made was they started Aaron Eulis over Raleigh Wooster. Not sure why you would do that. I have seen nothing at all from Aaron Eulis that would tell me he's a guy that should, 1, be starting, and 2, seeing the floor. Let's be real here. He provides nothing offensively. He's completely out of control. He doesn't run the offense well at all. He constantly is picking up his dribble at bad times with no plan. I have seen nothing from Aaron Eulis, and this is nothing against him as a person. This is everything against him as a player. I've seen nothing from him that tells me he should be playing. He constantly has turnover issues, lazy one-handed passes, telegraphing his passes. He provides very little on defense. He's a little more athletic than Raleigh Wooster, sure. I'll give you that. But Raleigh at least provides some offensive support and some defensive support. Raleigh Wooster at least gets you 8 to 10 points a game. Raleigh Wooster at least has more of a plan when running the offense. Not a great plan. He's not a great point guard. Nebraska just doesn't have a true point guard. But, and I usually try not to like focus too much on who's starting. But when you make that big of a change, like going from Aaron Eulis or Raleigh Wooster to Aaron Eulis, that makes 0 sense. And then, of course, Aaron barely played. He played like 12 minutes. So what was the point? Don't just make a change to make a change. That solves nothing. Make a change with a strategic purpose. That change had no strategic purpose. I'm starting to lose a lot of hope in Fred Hoiberg. I'm being real. I don't know what his buyout is. I thought I read it was pretty substantial. He's had one good season at Nebraska, and this season is completely falling apart. The transfers he brought in are average at best. This team is full of role players, with the exception of Bryce. This may do it for Fred if they don't fix this soon. Speaking of another transfer they brought in that provides nothing is Braxton Mia. For a guy that's 7'1", 260, was brought in to rebound and defend the glass, he does neither. He only averages 3 rebounds per game, which is insane. In fact, I'm going to pull this up real quick. I would not be surprised if Connor Essegian has more rebounds per game. I'm going to fact check this live. Well, live in terms of when I'm recording. Let's look at his stats. Connor Essegian. Basketball stats. Let's take a look. This is on ESPN. There you go. He averaged 3 rebounds per game. Connor Essegian, a backup who should be starting, who is 6'4", averages more rebounds per game than your starting center, Braxton Mia. Let's look at another small guy. Let's look at Sam Hoiberg. This is all off the dome. This is like not part of my plan, but as I'm ranting here, we're running with it. Sam Hoiberg, averaging 2 rebounds per game, 1 rebound less. Then you're starting 7'1" center. It's inexcusable. Braxton Mia lacks lateral mobility too. Like, he's just not a very good post player. He's not. He doesn't run the floor consistently. He whines at refs when he thinks he gets fouled. Whining at a ref isn't going to solve anything. Just shut your mouth and get down the court and go play some defense. It's ridiculous. During this 5-game losing streak, Nebraska is shooting 32% from 3. They're allowing 43%. And what did we say? They were shooting 47% from the field and allowing 50%. They've been out-rebounded in 4 of the 5 games. During this stretch, Juwan Gary is averaging 15 points per game. He's shooting 40% on field goals. He's shooting 9% from 3. Stop shooting threes, Gary. You should be slashing to the hoop. You're big, you're strong, you're physical, you're super athletic. Use your athleticism, your speed, and your size to your advantage like you did against USC over and over again. That is your game. The threes will come, but you don't need to be taking 4 or 5 threes a game. The threes will come. Take it to the rack. They're going to have to over-defend your ability to take it to the hoop, and eventually that 3 will come. Bryce Williams is shooting 45% from the field and 31% from 3 during this stretch. He's averaging almost 18 points per game. He had the one game where he was at 9 against Purdue. But other than that, Bryce has been decent. His turnovers are another problem. He has a clutch gene to make the shot at the end of the game, but man, against Iowa, USC, the end of the game, 2 huge turnovers. I don't know why they have him bringing the ball up. That was a little crack. I don't know why they have him bringing the ball up, though. Connor Essegian is averaging 11.2 points per game. He's shooting 44% on field goals. He's shooting 42% from 3. Connor Essegian needs to be starting. Point blank, period. He spaces the floor out so much for you. Braxton Mia does not need to be starting. Berke Buchtengel does not need to be starting. You need to increase your shooting ability from your starters. You need to increase your athleticism from your starters. Berke Buchtengel is not really athletic, and he's constantly getting tired and subbing out. He's out of shape. He's averaging 6 points per game in this 5-game skid. He's shooting 50% from the field. He's shooting 42% from 3. When you can only play 5 minutes at a time, it's a problem. I don't even understand how he's not in shape yet. It is January 24th. You should be in shape. They need to make changes. They need to stop playing certain people. And they need to play other people more. If Fred wants to make changes, here's what you need to do. Okay? Take it from me, this guy in my basement that probably has a better idea on who you should be playing right now. And I'm not even joking. Because it seems like Fred Hoiberg has no clue. If you want to win, this is your starting lineup. Raleigh Wooster is your point guard. He's your best bet at point guard. Aaron Eulis is not on the floor. Ever. He's done. He's not playing. He's a liability. Andrew Morgan is your starting 5. He's an athletic big who can shoot. He can defend. He can rebound. He's high effort. He runs the floor. He helps space it out because he can knock down a 3. He can facilitate from the post better than Braxton Mia can. He's not as good as Rank Mast, and he's not as good as Andrew. He's not as good as Derek Walker was, but he's better than what you've got. He does play more than Braxton Mia, but there needs to be a message sent to Nebraska basketball players. It is time to perform. You're all making money. You either perform or you don't play. This ain't intramurals, brother. It is time to perform. Juwan Gary's your starting four. He's a smaller four. He's a stretch four. But he's going to rebound like a maniac. He's going to stretch the floor out. He's more athletic than who you have right now. He can shoot the three from time to time. I don't care. Your main job is going to be stretch the floor, slash to the hoop, get mismatches, and rebound like crazy. I'm not a fan of him shooting three right now. He is ice cold from three. Bryce is your starting three. He's a big three. He can slash. He can shoot. He's okay at rebounding. He's pretty decent at defense. Connor's going to be your starting two. He's your sniper from three. You're going to run him all over the damn court. Screens. Backdoors. You're going to run him from sideline to sideline. All over the court. He will not stop moving. He's got the conditioning to do it because when he's playing right now and he's playing like 23 or so minutes per game, that's what he does. He runs all over. Make them keep up with him. He went through a little, lull shooting the three, but he's a three-point shooter. You let him shoot. The best way to get out of a slump is to keep shooting. It's very simple. And then your bench consists of Sam Hoiberg. He's going to come in, and he's going to be your sub for Raleigh Wooster and Connor Esesian. So when Raleigh needs a break, Sam Hoiberg is going to come in. You're going to let him run the point. You can let Bryce bring the ball up. I don't care. I mean, if that's what you want to do, because clearly it is. But you need a guy that understands the game and understands the system to keep the offense running. Sam Hoiberg can do that. He'll play 15 minutes a game, 17 minutes a game. And then you're going to have Berke coming in for Andrew Morgan or Juwan Gary. Berke is going to be a stretch 5 or a stretch 4. He's got good size. He's 6'10". You'll be a little small if he's in at the 5, but it's okay because he spaces the floor out. And then Braxton Mia is going to come in, limited action, 10 to 12 minutes a game. Get you some fouls. If Morgan gets into foul trouble, Mia can come in. Gary gets into foul trouble, Mia can come in. You can slide Andrew to the 4, or Berke can come in at the 4. You don't need 4 or 5 guys coming off the bench. You just don't. Aaron Eulis does not need to be coming in. He is a liability. He can come in if Raleigh is in foul trouble. Sure, absolutely. 5-minute stretch. And then Raleigh comes back in. This is not complicated. Basketball is not this complicated. You play the guys that perform. You play the guys that give you effort. You play the guys that are going to hustle. Fred Hoiberg's got big problems, and he better figure them out. Because if Fred does not figure these problems out, he may be out of a job. That's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on Twitter, wherever you can find me, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. We'll see how Nebraska basketball does on the road against Wisconsin on Sunday. I really want to do a live stream, like post-game show for that. So if you guys want a live stream post-game show for basketball, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on my Twitter account or my X account as well. I really enjoy engaging with everybody and the fans and getting opinions and all that good stuff. So like, comment, subscribe, share. Let's start doing some live post-game shows of Nebraska basketball. And that's all I've got. Thank you and welcome in to the Cornhusker Huddle.